Hello everyone and welcome back to Learn Arabic. I would like to welcome all of you to the last lesson of this Hamzatul Wasl series. We are still talking about the temporary short vowels associated to Hamzatul Wasl when it is used as the starting point of the reader, and the focus today is going to be on Hamzatul Wasl at the beginning of nouns and verbs. We are fully aware that this part should be taught at an advanced level. Nevertheless, we are going to touch on it briefly just to give you a couple of tips that will help you improve your reading skills without going into detail about the grammatical aspect of this part. So without any further ado, let's delve in, shall we? Our first section is all about Hamzatul Wasl at the beginning of nouns, and more specifically irregular ones. We are not going to explain what irregular nouns are from a grammatical point because there is an in-depth reasoning behind this denomination. However, the good news is that there is only a handful of irregular nouns that themselves begin with Hamzatul Wasl in the Arabic language. So all you will have to do is to memorize them. Now, before providing you with the exhaustive list of these nouns, please let me highlight the fact that we are no longer talking about the definite article. We have completely finished that part. It's important to keep that in mind to avoid confusion. Okay, so these are our irregular nouns. As you can see, we have 10 in total, and we are stating the whole 10 just for the record. However, we are only going to focus on 7 of these. The reason why? For the 3 left out, chances are you will never come across them during your whole study of the Arabic language because they are not commonly used. So, again, all in all, we have 10 irregular nouns, but only 7 of them are commonly used in the Arabic language. Right, the question that arises here is, how do we read these words? Well, let me do the honors, please. Ismun, ibnun, ibnatun, imru'un, امرأة اثنان اثنتان. One more time. اسم ابن ابنة امرؤ امرأة اثنان اثنتان. One more time. Copy after me, please. اسم ابن ابنة امرؤ امرأة اثنان اثنتان. By now, you've probably noticed the Kestrel sound at the beginning of each word, which means that the temporary short vowel that comes with Hamzatul Wasl at the beginning of irregular nouns is always a Kestrel. No exceptions. Couldn't be easier, isn't it? So, let's sum up. As mentioned, there are 10 irregular nouns in the Arabic language, but only 7 of them are commonly used. Pronunciation-wise, for all of these irregular nouns, the ruling is that Hamzatul Wasl should always be pronounced with a Kestrah whenever the reader uses these words as a starting point. Otherwise, Hamzatul Wasl will be skipped as mentioned in the first lesson of this series. Now time has come to Hamzatul Wasl at the beginning of verbs. We are going to just scratch the surface here. Please remember that our goal is to help you develop your reading abilities by providing you with a general set of rules governing the way to read Hamzatul Wasl at the beginning of verbs. I cannot stress enough the fact that we are just touching on this part. The in-depth study will be done at the right time, so make sure to keep following us. Right, with that in mind, let's begin. Hamzatul Wasl in verbs, and this is when the Kestrel and Dhamma sounds come into play. So here we have a couple of verbs. We have divided them into two groups, and if you pay close attention, you will also notice that the group on the left side of your screen is also divided into two subgroups. I'm going to get to the reason behind this classification in a couple of minutes, but let me read these verbs first. I'm going to start by reading those on the right side of your screen. ادخل, اخرج, اكتب. ادخل, اخرج, اكتب. Can you hear the Dhamma sound at the beginning of these verbs? ادخل, اخرج, اكتب. Moving on, now I'm going to read the whole group on the left side of your screen at one go, while pushing back disclosing the reason behind this subdivision to the right time. Listen up, please. اشرب, افتح, اذهب, اجلس, امشي, امضي. Can you hear the Kestrel sound at the beginning of these verbs? One more time. اشرب, افتح, اذهب, اجلس, امشي, امضي. Now let's break this down, shall we? As mentioned, if we want to start reading from a verb containing Hamzatul Wasl, we have to associate a temporary Kestrel or Dhamma to our Hamza. To know which one of the two options we must choose, you will have to apply a very simple rule. And the trick is to look at the third letter of the verb. Please start counting from Hamzatul Wasl. If the third letter has a Dhamma, just like the first group, you must associate a temporary Dhamma to Hamzatul Wasl too. However, if the third letter has a Fatha, just like the first subgroup, or a Kasra, just like the second subgroup, then we must sound Hamzatul Wasl with a Kasra. So, again, the rule is to look at the third letter of the verb, start counting from Hamzatul Wasl. If the third letter has a Dhamma, then you must associate a temporary Dhamma to Hamzatul Wasl. However, if the third letter has a Fatha or a Kasra, then we must sound Hamzatul Wasl with a Kasra. It's quite easy and I hope you've got the hang of it. Now we still have to highlight two important details before ending this lesson. In fact, in addition to these rules, I also want you to always keep in mind that number 1, Hamzatul Wasl is never sounded with a Fatha in verbs, and number 2, Hamzatul Wasl is only pronounced with Dhamma when it occurs at the beginning of a verb with a compulsory Dhamma on its third letter. I cannot stress enough the fact that it has to be a compulsory Dhamma, otherwise the pronunciation won't be the same. Just keep this denomination in mind. I'm not going to go into detail about it because it should be taught at an advanced level. So, by and large, when it comes to Hamzatul Wasl at the beginning of verbs, you will have to associate Kestrel to Hamzatul Wasl if the third letter of the verb is in conjunction with the Kestrel or Fatha. But you will have to associate a Dhamma sound to Hamzatul Wasl if the third letter of the verb takes a compulsory Dhamma. That's it. Well done, everyone. Now all you will have to do is to repeat the 3 detailed lessons until you get the whole concept of Hamzatul Wasl down pat. I'm sure you will in no time. Until we meet in our next lesson, take a good care of yourselves and always remember that everything can be done with patience and perseverance. شكرا على حسن استماعكم وإلى اللقاء.